It started like a scene out of a nightmare you don't expect when you've worked your whole life to stand tall in the world of business. Because Simone Harris, a 36-year-old black CEO who had built her empire from the ground up, entered Crescent First Bank on a crisp Tuesday morning, with nothing more on her mind than depositing funds into her corporate account and heading to her next meeting. Yet what unfolded inside that marble-floored lobby became a lesson in racism. Arrogance and poetic justice that no one present would ever forget. And you won't either, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch till the end, because the way this plays out will make you sit back and say, finally, justice. ACT. I begins with Simone stepping through the glass doors in her black blazer, heels clicking against the polished floor, her assistant Luis trailing behind with a leather folder of documents. She had a calm aura, the kind that comes from knowing you've fought through years of being underestimated, dismissed and ridiculed to finally own your place. But the moment she approached the teller, a middle-aged white woman with a smug grin, the energy shifted. "Are you here to cash a check from your employer?" The teller asked, her tone soaked in condescension, eyes flicking down at Simone's brown skin as though it was the wrong currency to be holding inside this bank. Simone blinked, almost amused, replying evenly, "No, I'm here to deposit funds into my company's account." She slid forward the folder with a signature calmness, but the teller barely looked before flagging down the branch manager, a white man in his late 40s with a pressed gray suit, stiff posture, and a face carved into a perpetual scowl. He stepped over like a sheriff in an old western, arms crossed, surveying Simone as if she were a criminal. "Large transactions require executive approval," he said, his voice loud enough for bystanders to hear. "And frankly, this branch serves private clients. You may be in the wrong place." People in line exchanged glances. One white man muttered under his breath, "Figures," and a young couple raised their brows as if waiting for Simone to defend herself. Inside, she felt that familiar sting, the sting of being invisible in plain sight, of working twice as hard only to be told you don't belong. But outside, her face remained steel. "I know exactly where I am," she said evenly. "Please process the transaction." Instead of compliance, the manager sneered. "Ma'am, we'll need to verify this with security, and in the meantime you'll have to leave." He gestured, and the bank's security guard, a heavy-set man in uniform, began to approach. Luis muttered under his breath, "Wow, they're really doing this today," his tone dripping with sarcasm. Simone tightened her jaw, her hands curling into fists at her side. But instead of exploding, she whispered to herself, "Give it 10 minutes. The tension was thick, customers whispering, some pulling out phones to record, while the teller chuckled like she was watching bad theater. Simone stepped aside, her heels clicking as she left the lobby with Luis trailing. And outside, the cool air felt like a reset button as Luis asked, "What's the play, boss?" Simone gave a small smile and pulled out her phone. "They think I don't belong here. Let's remind them who actually owns the place." Act 2 begins with Simone outside the bank dialing her attorney, her voice calm but firm as she said, "Trigger the emergency board call now." Within minutes, Luis had pulled up a video conference on her phone, and there on the screen appeared the suited faces of Crescent First Bank's board members, half awake and startled, but quickly attentive as Simone stated clearly, "I just attempted to make a deposit at the downtown branch, and I was denied service, humiliated in front of customers, and asked to leave. As majority shareholder, I'm exercising my authority." Luis grinned, sipping his coffee like it was popcorn at a movie. Back inside the bank, the staff smirked as they saw Simone re-enter, but their smiles faded when she held her phone aloft on speaker, the booming voice of the chairman echoing through the lobby. "Ms. Harris, as controlling shareholder, you have full authority to address this branch team as you see fit." The manager stuttered. "Wait, controlling shareholder? You?" His face went pale, his arrogance draining as fast as the color from his cheeks. Simone stepped forward, her voice ringing out like a judge delivering sentence. "Effective immediately, this branch team is terminated for discriminatory conduct. You will gather your belongings and vacate this building." Gasps rippled across the lobby, the teller's mouth falling open, the security guard freezing mid-step, then slowly backing away as if to disassociate himself from the doomed crew. Customers erupted, some clapping, some cheering, some filming in disbelief, while Luis leaned toward Simone and whispered with a grin, "They're gonna need more than HR to fix this mess." The manager sputtered. You can't do this, policy, but Simone cut him off. Eyes like fire. Policy doesn't excuse prejudice. Not in my bank. The security guard gave a slow nod of respect, quietly saying, "Yes, ma'am," and stepped aside to let Simone pass. The irony was unbearable for the staff. Minutes ago they were ordering her out, and now they were the ones being escorted. As Simone turned to address the crowd, her voice softened but carried, "This is why we cannot allow discrimination to live unchecked. Respect is not a privilege, it's a right." Applause thundered, a few people even standing on chairs to cheer, and in that moment the power shift was undeniable. Yet the final twist came when an older black woman who had been sitting quietly near the corner, her purse clutched tightly to her chest, stood and walked toward Simone with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, child," she whispered, her voice trembling, "for reminding them we belong here too." That sentence hit harder than all the applause combined, and Simone's eyes softened, a smile breaking through her composure. She turned back once more to the fallen manager, who now stood hollow-eyed and defeated, and said with cool finality, "Next time you judge someone by their skin, remember this moment." With that, she walked out, Luis at her side, the sound of clapping still echoing behind her. By the time she reached her car, her phone buzzed with alerts, headlines already breaking. Black CEO denied service at bank, then fired entire branch team in 10 minutes flat. Social media exploded, clips from bystanders going viral, the world cheering a story that finally flipped the script. And as Simone looked out the window on the drive to her next meeting, Luis cracked one last joke. "Guess fraud looks a lot like leadership today." She laughed softly, not just at his words, but at the sweet, perfect irony of it all. And in that laugh was the sound of victory, justice, and a warning to anyone else who ever dared underestimate her again.